Hi, everyone. Welcome to the studio. This is Liz Peterson. We're in Voice of Vashon studio recording Modern Mystery Schools today with Marnie Jones-Koenig. Good morning, Marnie, and welcome to the show. All right, guys, we're going to get started. Enjoy the program. Hello and good morning. This is KVSH Voice of Vashon 101.9 FM. Welcome to Raise the Vibe. I'm your host, Liz Peterson, intuitive healer and owner of Liz's Touch here on Vashon Island. Today, I'll be discussing modern mystery schools, healing, and various other related topics with Marnie Jones-Koenig, owner and healing practitioner at Star of the Sea Center of Light. Marnie is a certified guide, healer, and teacher by Modern Mystery School in the lineage of King Solomon, a spiritual path over 3,000 years old. Before her involvement in Modern Mystery School, she was known for her persistent engagement in the fight against the gravel mine planned for Maury Island. She ran an inn in Dockton where she raised her son, and she is a musician with numerous albums to her credit. She started her adult life as an industrial designer and is a fellow of the Industrial Designer Society of America. Her spiritual path has led her to push the boundaries of traditional thought and has landed her in this ancient tradition. Hi, Marnie. Welcome to the show. How are you doing today?
I'm great, Liz. How are you?
Awesome. It's great to have you in the studio. I'm super excited to share Modern Mystery School with our audience. Can you share with us, though, a little bit about your background with us before we get into your topic today?
Well, you did a very good job with my bio.
Thank you.
I'll have to say, though, that I started on my spiritual path, on my really formal spiritual path, when I was 25 years old. And at the time, there were these weekend Get Enlightened classes, so I took one of those. I took actually one of the first ones, which was called Mind Dynamics. And it taught me a lot. It really did. But you're not going to get enlightened in a weekend.
Yeah.
Or even during their 5-day intensive.
Wouldn't that be nice?
I mean, lots of amazing things happened, but it was just the start.
Right. So what led you to Modern Mystery School?
It was time. I had just kicked my husband out. Things were not going well.
Right.
I got married for the first time when I was 61, and by the time I was about 64, things were not working too well.
Wow, that's a big adjustment for you.
It was a big adjustment. And I was his third wife, so he was kind of the expert if it can be that way. So I kicked him out. He went to the desert, and I went to mystery school.
Oh, I see. So did a friend approach you? Did you find it online?
Okay,
what happened?
Well, this is quite a story, too. We got married in 2009, and to the wedding came an old friend from Minnesota who saw a poster and took the information. It was a poster on Kabbalah on the island.
Oh, fun.
He went back to Minnesota. 2 or 3 years later, he saw the same information in Minnesota, and he went, wow, I forgot to call that person. He went to the class, and it was Verla Wade, who is from here.
Oh, I love her. I've done a class with Verla. She's amazing.
She's great. She's also my guide.
Fine.
Anyhow, so he's like, oh, you have to meet Marnie. She lives near you, So he got us together by that very circuitous route.
And I remember us talking together. You actually took a class on island that was offered, that maybe led to Modern Mystery School?
No,
there were no classes on island at that time?
There was, one of our guides lived here for about 5 years with her family.
Okay.
And then moved to north of Seattle.
Oh, okay.
So there was that little window when she was here and we were getting married that little intersect happened, but I didn't find the information. It was my friend who had.
Ah, got
So it took a little longer, but Spirit has a way of arranging the timing.
Yeah, when the timing is right, it
Yeah.
happens.
Yeah.
Cool. Okay, so tell us, that's a big question. What is Modern Mystery School?
Drum roll, please. Flashing of cymbals. There are 7 mystery schools on the planet. 6 are closed, and the 7th one opened its doors about 22 years ago. For the timing of humanity in this great shift of consciousness, a great challenge to our survival and the survival of life on the planet, and also a great opportunity to evolve in a major way. And Modern Mystery School is international. You'll find some big centers of action in Brazil, London, South Africa, all over the place. And the international headquarters for the Western world is in Toronto, Canada. So we have quite an array of experiences available in the Seattle area. And as a new guide, I'm also able to bring several of those first layers of teachings to people here on the island.
Nice. And what are those first layers of teaching?
Those first layers of teaching get you started. And it is a path of coming into the light, coming into your divinity, which is the thing that is most lacking on the planet and in most people's lives. It's one thing to go to church and have your Sunday thing and go home. This is like a daily nourishment of your inner self that's really transformational. You might think nothing's happening, and then all of a sudden something really becomes apparent. You have a bigger perspective on your life, more clarity. And that's a phenomenal process. It's very alive and very unique to each person and each moment.
How so? How is it unique to you?
It's unique to me just in my own wounding that I walk through life with, and we all have some.
Yes.
But it's quite precise to me, as it is to every person, what happened to you as a child and since. And so for me, a lot of it's packed into a scoliosis in my back. It's kind of my way of knowing how my progress is almost. But that's my thing. The other thing is that I've been looking into genealogy, the history and my roots and that sort of thing. And I realized that this is an ongoing thing over many generations, but our family did not have a lot of grown-ups in it. Well, they looked like grown-ups, but they were emotionally very childish. And I'm not saying childlike, I'm saying childish. The difference being you're acting and presenting kind of as a child, but really your inner child is maybe kind of hurt and scared and hiding.
That buzzword these days, emotional immaturity.
Yeah. Very much so.
I see.
And at almost 70, I started realizing that I was still about 3 years old. I'm like, wow, I've raised a child. I've had all these careers, but emotionally, in this first marriage of mine, it became pretty obvious that I wasn't completely a grown-up. Okay. And once you have come to that realization and you realize, oh my God, what am I going to do about this? Where is that adult self? You start seeing it in other people too, and it really, at a certain point where I'm starting to feel more adult, I'm like, wow, maybe I could help other people, because I think this happens to a lot of us. I don't think I'm unique in this.
Right. What has Modern Mystery School done for you?
I went through years of therapy with this hurt child of mine. And all the while, there wasn't that adult self to protect and love and heal that child. There was kind of a house of mirrors. In Modern Mystery School, I've gotten to know myself as a spirit as well as a physical being. That in fact, our source is spiritual, it's not physical. We're eternal spiritual beings having a human experience. That's quite a different perspective. You don't get that very many other places.
No.
And the processes I do every day remind me and peel layers off so that I really have that experience. I start to have the experience of a spiritual self. Wow.
Could you
That
explain
is
that?
way transformational. It's like, oh, what is that adult I'm really pursuing in myself? What is that self? Well, that self is godlike. That self is divine. That self is not all the things I thought it was, you know? And I don't have to be constantly on my own case for not being good enough, or all the things that we do to ourselves, the punishments and whatever that we basically learned from our parents.
Right.
So mystery school has been phenomenal for me in growing myself up. That's not a small thing. I went through 45 years of seeking this without really being able to identify it exactly. But when I got to mystery school, it got really a lot clearer. And I mean, the process of going through this path starts you with an infusion of light. It's called life activation. And it's just like a 1 hour process, which gets you started. It gets you more in your own flow, more connected to your purpose in life. Things start to change, and you might have forgotten you even had a life activation. But things start to open towards a better direction for you. People will be asked 3 months later, so what's happened? Oh, not much has happened. Well, tell me about your life. Oh, well, I did get a new job. I broke up with my boyfriend. Now it looks like I have a better person coming. And oh yeah, and I moved. Oh, nothing happened, right? So life activation is very unique to each person, as is everything here. Because you go to therapy for 20 years or whatever, and you're dealing with your drama and your story and all the things. This deals on the energetic level. And your story is your story. That's fine. But don't get too wrapped up in it, because you're much bigger than your story. And the school is here to help you discover that. They can't give it to you. They can give you tools, and you do your own work.
Right.
Because if you're going to really become empowered, which is the goal here, you're going to do your own work. No one can give that to you. You have to earn that. And having good tools and having times when you are going through an initiation or an activation where you bring in more light, it lights your path, and you expand. And then you expand into that activation and into that initiation. And you just become a little more each day, and a little less, because you're dropping things away that are really not you. Wow. That is called the great work.
Right.
So I feel so grateful to have found this way of working. Each class I go to, there's a question of, well, how can you prove that this is really an ancient thing? Do you really believe this and all that? And in the beginning, man, after all the work I've done in all these different ways, big skepticism.
Right.
Okay? But as I've been in the school about 6.5 years, and I can tell you, I am absolutely blown away every time I go to a class, how much integrity that class is taught with, how deep the teaching is. Things are going in you're not even aware of, but you know that it's good. And when I do a life activation on someone, I'm aware that life activation is actually 8,000 years old, is what we're told. I'm aware that 8,000 years of people are there with me doing this life activation, along with some angels and archangels.
So what exactly is a life activation?
It's, you mean the mechanics of
Yes.
receiving a life
Yeah.
activation? Excuse me. The first thing is, well, I'm a ritual master also,
Okay.
which gives me,
What does that mean?
well, there's two paths. I'll get to a more basic thing, then I'll get to life activation.
Sure.
The school is set up so that for the first 3 processes or so, everyone does kind of the same thing. You're on your own schedule. Some people don't continue after life activation. A lot of people, life activation, great, go on about life. But if people want more, there's a 2-day class, and it's called Empower Thyself. I teach that here on the island. And at the end of that is the first level, what we call an adept initiation. It's an infusion of light and contained in your aura. You have a different life after this 2-day class with the initiation. It may not seem like it right away, but as you work and if you engage with the practices you're given, you very much have a chance for a quite different life, especially if you've been unhappy and felt out of focus and all that. These things start to get better.
I see.
And then the third step is the second initiation level, and that's done in Toronto. It's called Healers Academy, and it's where people learn how to do life activation.
Oh.
But it's also the prerequisite for all the other levels of the school.
Oh, I see.
Okay.
So you have to be initiated before you can move on in the process?
Yes, and then there's some prerequisite classes, and a couple of those I can teach here, and there's others. But prerequisites like sacred geometry 1, which I guess you've already done.
I have. I've done sacred geometry 1. It was wonderful.
It's a pretty amazing class. And the other one I can do here is astral travel.
That would be fun.
Yeah, it's pretty neat. And there's some others. There's one called the 12. It's not the 12 tribes, 12 races.
Oh.
And there's 2 or 3 others, and then you can go off to Healers Academy, which is 5 days long. It's mind-blowing. You start to really understand the human being in such a different way, and to appreciate the subtlety of who we are.
So it's really a perspective shift, I'm hearing?
Big.
Okay. So kind of approaching life in a new way, in a different way?
And really this starts with life activation, but it's very much amped in Empower Thyself, the 2-day class here on the island.
Oh, okay.
It's some of the information in that class really gives you an appreciation for where we came from and why we're alive and how we're made, that we have all these levels of energy and complexity about us and nuance. It's just amazing who a human being actually is. And you start to appreciate this in a way that, boy, I never did before. So we are divine beings, and just that means that we're not going to get enlightened in 5 minutes.
Yeah, I think we're so complex. It really takes time.
Yeah. We've been so creative in how we have created our defenses and our structures of fear and who we were taught we were that we're not and all that. It takes a long time to undo some of that stuff.
Right.
I've seen people push it way too fast, and then they kind of go, wow, too much.
Really interesting. Why?
Yeah. Well, you have to integrate these things. We have rather fragile bodies and the energy structures around them, and they can't be pushed too fast, or you really, I learned this actually quite early in my life, that you really sabotage your own progress by pushing too fast, too far.
How so?
Yeah. It made me afraid to go any further because I wasn't ready for some of the changes that I made. Yeah.
Okay.
So I'm older and wiser. And also younger and more mature. So, and I have the mystery school practices, and I mean, it's not just the practices and it's not just the initiations, it's also the support of watching all the other people who encourage and change and shift along with you. That's an amazing community of people.
Oh, and it's nice to
So
have community and support in our
yeah.
lives. I think that's a really important part of
you
life.
make stupid mistakes and you're not sent out the door. You
Oh,
get an
that's
F
good
in
to know.
something, well, try again later.
Right. Maybe we'll gather around you and pick you up and help you along your way.
Well, they're not going to pick you up. They're going to be there while you pick yourself up, because this is about empowerment.
Nice.
It's kind of an important thing.
Yeah, I think self-empowerment is important these days.
Yeah.
So often
not,
we give away our power,
Yeah.
Running to the psychic for the answers, or really need to look within.
Right.
Yeah.
This is not a school that's going to, oh, are you okay? No. This is like, try again.
Oh, can you give an example? An example of that, by any chance?
Oh, I've embarrassed myself so many times.
So our listeners can get an idea.
But rather than someone, pointing a finger at me and going, "Ooh," my guide might say, "No, you got to watch it. I'm calling you on this thing." But I'm a higher level initiate now. She can do that.
Right.
To someone who's new, they're going to, be treated that's appropriate to how much experience they have and how sensitive they are and all that. Because this is all about reconnecting with your divinity, and we're all at different levels of doing that process.
Right.
And people who have been in the school longer, higher level initiates, you can pretty much trust they're still human.
Mm-hmm.
They can make mistakes, but they're going to have probably a higher perspective that can really serve you well.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So can you walk us through a life activation, since that would be our first step?
Okay. I mean, there are other steps you can take first, but this is the first serious step if you're going towards being a student in school.
Okay.
Like I say, I do an aura clearing first, because as a ritual master, I have other modalities that someone who's new at doing life activation doesn't have.
And for our listeners who don't know what an aura is, our biofield or energetic field around our body.
Most of us see just the physical form. Some of us see auras, so we know that those things are there.
Yes.
Your functional aura is at least 3 feet out from all different sides of your body, all the way around, 360. Right. And but your complete aura is very vast. I think like 150 feet, but you don't really stop there.
No, we're all really connected.
Yeah,
honestly.
And each layer
of
your aura has different aspects to it, different functionality to it. You're not just contained in your physical body. You definitely have a bigger self than that. Okay.
Yep.
I mean, you can actually feel your own aura. You can feel the heat radiating off your body, but you can actually feel your own energy. Feel it between your hands if you want.
Right.
Like I can definitely feel energy, just like this.
Yes.
And further.
Right.
But I've been the Reiki channel for 38 years, so I'm very in touch with energy.
Oh, we'll have to come back to that.
Okay. So life activation, I do a aura clearing first, a negative spell removal, cord cutting, which is clearing out any negative connections you have with others.
It's always nice.
Yeah. And then something called a purification by light, which is feels more ceremonial in a way, but it definitely clears anything else that's not your friend,
Right.
And each person has their own experience, of course, always. After that, we start the life activation by a balancing of the aura. And then, and that takes 20 minutes, half hour.
Okay.
It's quite elaborate, actually. And then the life activation itself involves infusing light through the back of the head and into the neck and shoulders with a wand. It's a wand with a crystal. And it's a very sacred process. I really find that is very moving. And very often I feel the archangels with me. It's a very high
Nice.
sacred process.
Lovely. I had a life activation myself. It was a
Oh, you did?
beautiful experience.
Yeah.
Yeah, really
It's
lovely
very
experience.
blessing.
It really took me to a lot of beautiful places in my life too.
Oh,
And I
Liz,
got a lot of
great.
information from the process as well.
Right.
So everybody out there, I highly recommend you do that. It was life changing. I had a lot of really positive things come into my life afterwards. It was wonderful.
Great.
Yeah.
Oh, that's super.
Well,
I didn't know you'd been life activated.
Yes.
All right.
Yeah, Jeannie Mark went over in
Yeah.
Des Moines,
Yes.
chiropractor,
Yes.
and in the modern mystery school as well.
Yes.
Yeah, beautiful woman.
She's a lovely lady.
She is.
Yeah. And she and I were ritual master novices together.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. So, yeah, I've gotten to know her fairly well. Yeah.
Wonderful. And then Empower Thyself, that you teach that's on the island.
Yes.
And it's a
Empower
2-day.
Thyself, 2 days, and it ends, like I say, if it's on a weekend, it's Saturday and Sunday, and then on Sunday evening is the initiation. And everything in the class prepares you for that initiation. If you're just initiated and out the door, it wouldn't be the same. You know, because what you learn in the class is some very deep understandings that we call them keys, actually.
Okay.
And there's several of them as you go through the class that really kind of shift your perspective on things in a really amazing way. Hard to describe without saying too much.
Right.
No.
I guess we still have to keep it kind of a mystery.
Unfortunately, it's a mystery until it isn't.
Right.
You know?
Until we take the class and start the journey ourselves of looking
Yeah.
within.
And your mystery is going to be just a little bit different than anybody else's.
We're all different.
It's all about finding your own universe inside you.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yes. Okay, you had mentioned sacred geometry. Could you tell us a little bit about that?
There are 7 levels so far of classes in sacred geometry. I can do the first one, and Verla does all the others.
Okay.
And I think there may be other practitioners who have learned also. I think I'm losing my.
Okay.
And the first class, you learn, you really connect with the basic symbols, triangle, square, and circle.
Okay.
Or put them in the 3D, it's tetrahedron, cube, and sphere.
Right.
And these are the building blocks of all life. With this, you can make your space protected. You can make where you live or work or wherever feel more, I don't know if I should use the word sanctified, but it feels more clean.
Right.
And
I find it feels grounded.
It feels grounded. It feels balanced.
Marnie came in. When Marnie got here, she came in and did a little sacred geometry on the room, and you could feel the room really settling in and balancing. It actually felt wonderful.
It's so great to be interviewed by someone who gets this. Trying to explain this to a CPA or, who's not, that there aren't CPAs one of my favorite people in the school is a lawyer, and she's an amazing lawyer,
Mm-hmm. I think that a lot of people have this other dimension to themselves that, upon meeting somebody we don't realize is functioning in the background, but really is,
Yeah. So you have these balances you can make, but you can't assume that every CPA is going to understand this.
Right.
So God bless the CPAs. Please keep doing what you're doing. I need you. And I have this other thing if you're interested, So anyhow, the life activation, if I haven't quite finished, is complete. There's little things that kind of close that process. But the experiences people have with her are just so wondrous. I did this guy on the island. He shall remain unnamed,
of course,
because everyone knows him.
We all know each other on the island.
Oh, nothing happened. I'm not sensitive to energy, blah, 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 and then And then all this stuff happens.
Right.
It's like, and a year later, he looks 10 years younger. I'm like, wow, something happened.
Wow. Fantastic.
Yeah. And all these things have moved forward in what he's doing. It's pretty cool. Can I take full responsibility? Absolutely not. But I can at least see what's going on and realize that I think something really shifted in him.
That's wonderful.
No matter how conscious he is or not
Right.
of it.
Right. I think that everyone is empathic or has these extra gifts and skills beyond our five senses. And it's just that we're not being taught this anymore. And I think it's so important, that we find these places on our journey where we're learning these things, where you're like, hey, I can hear beyond my normal hearing, or these ideas that I'm getting that are being impressed upon me aren't just, my thoughts and ideas, but we are connected and able to receive this information. And I think Modern Mystery School and lots of other places, shines a light on those places within ourselves where, hey, we have this intuition, we can follow this intuition. Yes. We're sensitive, we sense with our physical bodies, beyond what we think we do. And these things like Modern Mystery School can connect ourselves so that we go, hey, I'm functioning at another level that, I wasn't, aware of before.
That's part of what Empower Thyself does.
Oh, great.
Is to give you a greater sense of those other senses. It talks about them, but it also gives you the experience of amplifying those, of bringing them out of hiding. It's all about finding who you truly are, letting those other things go, and finding your greatness, finding your true capacity as a divine being to change the world, change at least your inner world, but to also be an inspiring person to others on the outer world. That's like super important. I want to say something about the history of mystery schools.
Yeah, that would be great.
As I already said, this mystery school opened its doors to the public 22 years ago.
And you had mentioned that all the other mystery schools have closed their doors.
They're all closed. They haven't ever been open.
I remember hearing stories, as a kid, this person walked up to this other person and gave them a mysterious note.
Yeah.
And,
be there
all
at 7.
shrouded in mystery, be there at 7, so wanted to be invited to one of these schools.
Yeah, exactly. Me
I've been interested in this since
and
I was very young. Yep, and here it is. We can just, find it through friends.
Yeah.
Now these days.
Yeah, find it through friends, find it because it's time to find it.
Right.
You get nudged in a certain direction. A book falls off a shelf when you're looking in the bookstore. Whatever happens. Or in my case, it had to go back and forth between here and Minnesota a couple times. That was pretty amazing.
That is amazing.
But anyhow, I want to say here. Mystery School opened 22 years ago.
Okay.
I teach a class called the 7 Ancient Mystery Schools. And I can't wait to teach it next. Right. It probably will be in the fall at this point.
Okay. Here on Vashon Island?
Yeah.
Okay.
It tells about all the mystery schools that still exist on the planet. There have been more, but it's down to 7.
Okay.
And the difference in the open mystery school is that in the others, you generally have to be a monk. You have to separate yourself from normal life and just be cloistered. The thing about this mystery school is you've got to make it work in the marketplace. You've got to make it work with your significant other,
right? With
your children. You have to have a human life.
So it's like the householder's path for the yogi. So it's similar to that. Like still functioning in society, while you're on this spiritual journey.
Yeah, it's highly challenging because you go out in the marketplace and you're feeling all enlightened and yippee, and you go out in the marketplace and people start throwing bad vibes around and wanting you to buy something you don't want and all the stuff that happens in marketplaces. And I'm not saying just out like it's Saturday market. That's a pretty mellow version of this. Probably pretty high vibe.
I'm getting the analogy.
You're walking through Thriftway, you see a lot of people, whatever. But say you're in Rainier Beach or somewhere in the city that feels a little questionable.
Right.
You have to learn how to walk through there and hold your own safety.
Right.
That's part of the ritual master path, is you start to learn to really own your energy and to be in control of what gets in.
Be in control of your space.
Yeah. And to be able to really serve that higher being, God, if you want to call that God.
Right.
And so back to, I'm not Pisces, wind
We're
my way through.
winding river.
The school after Healer's Academy has two paths. King Solomon, known for his temple, had healers and warriors, both extremely important. That's what we have in the school. We have healers and warriors. The healer path culminates in guide,
Okay.
and the warrior path goes through many levels of initiation into a third step, ritual master. And then very often they converge.
Okay.
Like I'm both a guide and a ritual master.
Okay.
Not fully a ritual master yet, but a half a step from there. I'm hoping to accomplish that.
Ritual master means you can perform initiations?
Some of it I can't talk about.
Okay, gotcha.
This really is the most mysterious path.
Right.
And there's good reasons why I can't talk about it. We do a lot of service, and it's just important that it stays cloistered.
Right. Is there a larger mission to Modern Mystery School?
There is very much a larger mission. First of all, it's empowerment on the personal level. And when a lot of people become empowered in the light, I'm not talking about the Darth Vaders here, I'm talking about people who are seriously on their mission to create beauty and freedom and wholesomeness,
Okay.
if you want. That's like, you multiply that by 1 million people or however many it's going to take.
Mm-hmm.
You have a different world.
Right.
You stop having the evil we're seeing.
Yeah.
The ritual master is here to subdue that evil, or to transform that evil. I won't say to fight it exactly,
right,
because we train to fight, but we really try to not. That's the last resort. You want to come at this with love, with firmness, with certainty, and that training is amazing. And that training helps the softer side, the healer side,
right,
be more on the mission. But the healer side also helps the warrior side become more compassionate and gentle.
I see.
King Solomon had both, and he cross-trained them.
Okay, can you explain King Solomon a little bit more?
Okay. King Solomon's temple, of course, is in the Bible, and King Solomon himself. He's the son of King David. We've heard of King David because Jesus actually sprang from that lineage.
Mm-hmm.
King Solomon's father, David, was a warrior. That's what, he was a soldier, a general, I guess you'd say. His son was primarily a healer, and he brought together healers, wise people, men, women, shaman, all the best that he could find around the planet, because he wanted to put together a path to enlightenment. He wanted to refine the map. That's the map.
Okay.
How to get back to God.
I see.
Because that's what it is. It's how to get back to the true self that you are, which is God.
Okay.
But in the bigger context of the Almighty, we are his children. Why can't we be his adult children? Why can't we grow up into being, that? So he brought in life activation, and he brought in people from all the different continents, including this one over here. somehow they knew we were here. They knew this was here. And anything that worked for everybody was accepted. Very few things. There were a lot of processes that worked only in a village in South America.
Mm-hmm.
So that was not going to be used in this universal process,
Right.
this universal path. And so that's very short version of why King Solomon and why we go back to King Solomon.
Okay.
And does it really go back to King Solomon? The more I'm in the school, the more I think, boy, they are on it. This is the true thing.
Right.
Because I've tried
And how
so
do you,
many things.
yeah, how do you know it's real? How do you know it's a true thing? How
In
do you
your
know
bones?
it's real?
And because I never see it fail, ever. We can fail all
Right.
over the place,
Yes.
but the process itself, and sometimes I doubt the process and I have to challenge that. I'm sure everybody probably goes through that on some level,
Mhm.
you know. And then when I actually trust the process, things just start to move again, and it's all good.
Right.
So
Okay.
there's not much to doubt at this point, 6.5 years in, except maybe myself always, you know, like, am I up to this? Am I really doing justice to what I have?
Oh.
Am I really understanding the sacredness of this path?
Well, I'm glad you're here on Island to bring this to us. It's wonderful.
Well, if I can learn how to better present it, you're helping.
No,
a
you're
lot.
doing a great job. And you wrote an article for the Loop, the recent Loop.
2-part.
2-part. Oh, is the second part coming up?
It's already out.
Oh, great.
It's not on the front page like the first one.
Yeah, the first one's on the front page. I got that. So I'll have to pick up the second one. So you said we were given a map to find our way home. Can you explain that?
Well, this set of steps through the school is a kind of map. Now it's very much custom tailored to each person. We do things in different order. We do things at different times. We're better at one thing or another, and so we pursue different ways of going through the school. There's also a huge number of other classes. This is a school in metaphysics, and as opposed to anything religious, it's a non-dogmatic path. So it's teaching you about metaphysical things that have been kept mysterious because they got misused over time when they came out. And now we're really at a point where we got to get serious here, boys and girls. We got to
I think that's a good idea.
Get really serious about this. And I think there's enough people who are really ready to cut to the chase and get over their stuff and start doing something, because, you know, we may not be here much longer unless a lot of people change. And it's only like 3% of the world's population, which will make a massive shift.
Mm-hmm.
And we have more and more light on the planet and more kind of other help. I don't know how metaphysical I want to get with that topic, but you can feel it. If you're sensitive to energy, you know there's more light. There may be more darkness. There may be more, signs of evil things, but that can also be that there's more light, and it's bringing that stuff out of the shadows.
Right.
It's bringing it out so we can see.
Yes, I think the more that we see these things that aren't okay in our society, the more we can shift those things, because if they're hiding, then there's no change going on. But if they're able to come forward, and for the last year or two, a lot of things have come forward, we can deal with them and shift those things. So I think that's really an important thing. And then people are going out there and really speaking up, even the youth. I think it's beautiful, to see the youth stand up and say, this is not okay and this needs to change. And then it gets
don't do this to our
train as well. Don't do this to our future. I think it's a really cool thing.
Yeah.
So you said there's different metaphysical aspects. Could you maybe share a couple of those with us?
There are classes in alchemy. There's classes in earth magic, Rinka. It's a whole study in the earth magics. And I didn't give that much notice to begin with.
Right.
But then I started realizing, my goodness, this is like yummy things. This is like working with essence of oils, embedded in oils,
Right.
holy oils, and just things that heal. This is also about creating your own incense and about honoring the natural calendar. So on every full moon, there's usually a Wicca celebration in Seattle. So that's just a wonderful path. And I'm actually at the first level of priestesshood in the Wicca. I never thought I would do
interesting.
this.
That's fun.
Yeah.
I follow the moon phases myself.
Yeah.
The new moon is a great time to release.
There's
the
a lot
full
of
moon is a
women
great
in
time
this.
to manifest.
There's a lot of women in this.
We need to bring the men on board.
There are a few
tap
men
them into
too.
their divine feminine as well and get them on that.
Absolutely. So let me see what else. There's
We mentioned sacred geometry.
Very important.
Mm-hmm.
A core teaching of the school is universal Kabbalah.
Ah, yes.
Kabbalah is amazing.
How so?
It's a 10-month ascension program where you go through with a bunch of people, but you have, again, daily work to do. And the tree of life is the model for Kabbalah. It's actually, it's a very archetypal model. Each Sephiroth, which is a little different than the chakral system, but it's not that different. And it goes out to like your hips and your shoulders and the sides of your head. These Sephiroth have each a particular viewpoint or a particular aspect of your life that you can see it as the mind of God, if you like.
Okay.
Or you can see it also that there's a sequential development of the human being from the head to the feet.
Yes, you can definitely see that in the chakras. That's will to live, and then coming into your self-power and the community and family.
And around your head,
the heart.
You're really up in the supernals and the mind of God.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So I've been up the tree twice. I'm ready to do a third one. Every time you go through, it's a completely new experience. You're basically standing on the or standing on the head with the feet, and more and more, and each time it's quite unique. There's people who just do it all the time.
Yeah.
And I do the rituals all the time. Not all of them, but I do some.
So you
rituals.
Get tools. You get tools from taking the classes to take home with you.
You get
be able
some
to do on your own.
Amazing ways of connecting with your divine self, with God. It's amazing. I want to just address the God thing.
Okay.
Because I don't know how widespread this is, but I've heard that there's plenty of people. When we're small children, we look at our parents as God. They're the best thing we got. Mm-hmm. Okay.
Yeah.
And they are not God. And you start learning about this.
Right.
And they don't treat you very well, but you think they're God. So you're going to believe everything that they tell you and show to you. Mm-hmm. With that in mind, when I was first addressing my relationship with God, probably 20s, because I kind of closed that off, I started to realize that I thought God was like my father.
Yes, because we project how we saw our parents onto the divine.
Yeah.
That's not really how it goes.
So, boy, if he's got a big right hand like my father, maybe even a hammer in it, I'm not sure I can trust this big guy in the sky with a white beard, Well, that's not who God is. I started to have an appreciation for what that aspect
to you,
is. This is a being who wants you to succeed. Mm-hmm. This is a being who wants you to remember who you are.
So I find that with the universe too, no matter what we do, there's always a helping hand after. It's ultimately supporting you and always moving you forward on your path.
This is in the Ensophic ray energy, which is this larger aspect of Reiki.
Mm-hmm. And you're a Reiki master.
No,
and
I've never made the Reiki. Well, I did one of these weekend
You did the Reiki?
I don't count that.
Okay.
But I've been doing Reiki for 38 years.
Okay.
do it on myself.
And the next step was the Ensophic Ray, you're saying?
Ensophic Ray was brought back. Well, this is a good story. I don't know how much time you have, but
We have 10 minutes.
okay, good. Ensophic Ray was part of the original handing down to Dr. Usui, who brought us Reiki. This was in the early 1920s or so.
Mm-hmm.
And he didn't feel that the world was ready for this higher ray of energy. So he didn't pass it down.
Interesting.
He kind of made a deal with with those who gave him Reiki, and that he would have to call it something different. So he chose the word Reiki.
Okay.
Which is universal life energy key.
Yes. I'm a Reiki master, been practicing, and I did not know about the Ensophic Ray, so this is enlightening.
Well, it was brought back by the man who started Modern Mystery School. He was trained in all the ancient mystery schools and was prepared for his mission to bring it public.
Mm-hmm.
It's quite an interesting man, I can tell you that. But he brought Ensophic Ray back. The Ensophic Ray energy is literally all coming to be in its perfect fullness all the time. So any place you're off, you just set that before this, or you work the Ensophic Ray with that,
Mm-hmm.
and it will heal. It's healed cancers and all kinds of things. It's the ray of light that Jesus embodied and why people were healed in his presence.
So are you channeling this energy?
This is one of the things I've been trained to do.
Okay.
And I've been doing that on myself too.
And you offer those sessions?
Yes.
In your business?
There's a 3-session protocol that's, if you have never had an Ensophic Ray or even a Reiki, is a really good way to start.
And is that 3 separate healings? Or are you saying to get initiated into the Ensophic Ray?
They're healings.
Okay, this is part of your healing practice, something that you offer at Star of the Sea, that you can get these 3.
Right.
Okay.
And they're very much custom tailored. The middle one involves a sealing in of the energy, and this can only be done once a year.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Wow.
And you can have other Ensophic Ray single healings. That's fine.
Okay.
And you can have Reiki. I do Reiki, but I'm way more tending to do Ensophic Reiki because it's the real and whole modality.
Right.
And there's some downsides to the other. But,
and the third?
I won't go into that.
And the third, you say there's 3 parts. So the first is?
Well, the first and third sessions are to the person's needs. They're unique to whatever they need, depending what they're working on. Each of us has our own, again, our own
okay.
setup.
So you set it up depending on the person, it sounds like.
Absolutely.
Okay.
That's always how Reiki is too. You go where the need is.
Yes.
Yeah.
Exactly. What else do you offer at Star of the Sea?
I offer so many things, and that's one of the things about the school. It's almost like an overchoice. There's so many wonderful things.
Can you share with our listeners what they can?
One of my favorites is an Egyptian process, and it involves a potato.
A potato. Explain.
A potato and a needle. It's like obviously pretty alchemical or something, but it goes through the layers of your being and clears things. And it's an amazing process.
Fascinating. Anything? What else?
Oh my goodness. There's crystal healings. There's healings with lasers. It's amazing. I've been taught something like 30 or 40 different modalities.
Mm-hmm. So how do we know? So I call you and say, hey, I've got this thing. How do we, who comes to you? What do we have? What is your ideal client? Like what is it that I might have that I might call you for?
Well, that's a very good question. I usually start with my most familiar thing, which is Reiki. If I don't know somebody, and they're a little vague about what their needs are,
Right.
I might start with Reiki because I'll learn about them and they'll learn about me. And if we want to go on from there, I probably get into the school things. But some people start with a life activation.
Okay.
It just depends what they want, what they need, and what they're ready for.
Mm-hmm.
That's really important. When I first went to Verla, I didn't get a life activation. I had a couple of other healings first because she knew I wasn't quite ready.
Right.
So it's very individual and it's very intuitive. I just have to feel out where somebody is.
I see. What kind of classes are you going to be doing on island?
Well, I've already mentioned the 7 ancient mystery schools and sacred geometry.
And when is that going to happen?
And astral travel. Well, we have the summer coming up, so a lot of these things probably not till the fall.
Okay.
I'm trying to set up an Empower Thyself for the end of June. For the level I'm at, I need to have an international teacher there monitoring and making sure that I'm on target with it. So you get 2 teachers.
Nice.
But setting that up is more complicated than just saying, oh, I'll do it then.
Right.
Yeah. So I haven't heard back from them yet. It may not happen till the fall. I'm not sure.
And you have Max Meditation.
Max Meditation is more often. Yeah.
Okay.
I've been doing it every 2 weeks on Thursdays. But now in May, all of us go for recertification on all of our modalities. The primary modalities, anyhow, not all of them.
So you're going to be taking a break the month of May?
Most of May 9th to May 22nd. Okay. So that kind of takes most of May out of the
And then will you
picture.
pick back up the Max Meditation after
Yeah,
that?
I'd like to.
When you return on. You said every other Thursdays?
Yeah, but there's a lot of people I'm meeting who can't do Thursday. I might try Monday.
Okay. And then where do you host this?
I host it at my Light Center in Burton.
Okay.
You can't have the address. Not until you sign up.
And how do we find you, Marnie?
You can find me at starofthesea.center is my website. You can find me on Facebook. Star of the Sea Center of Light is just put that into your little window thing,
right?
Whatever that's called.
And they can message you.
And you can message, you can text me at 206-579-8994.
Great. And could you explain what is Max Meditation? Because I've heard it several times, but I'm not exactly sure what it is. You share with our listeners what that is?
It's about an hour long, and it's the best of all meditation forms internationally. It was put together by Founder Koenig, the man who started Mystery School. And it involves relaxation, then passive meditation, active meditation, and a guided meditation, guided imagery, or whatever you want to refer to.
That sounds
and then a soothing down, a kind of coming back gently. Because after the depths you've been in, you want to come back very gradually.
Nice.
And I've been having some good results with that.
Oh. Yeah. So you say we are eternal spiritual beings having a human experience. Can you explain this? We have a couple of minutes left of our show.
Well, I think it kind of explains itself, but in practice, starting to know yourself as a spiritual being is an amazing adventure. It's full of light and love, joy, and you just I feel like I'm seeing the human struggles from a whole new vantage point, that I don't have to be affected by so much of that as I was before, and that I can just have a lot of compassion, but also that I may be moved to step in where I can help and to offer these amazing modalities through Mystery School. Because each person who kind of wakes up to who they are and stops being in this drama of the human drama condition thing is definitely adding to peace in the world. Peace individually, but peace in the world. I've tried doing all kinds of change the world kind of activities since I was in my 20s. This is the one that's really true to me. And I'm still going to write. I write. I'm still going to lecture. I'm going to present classes. That's different.
Right.
presenting a mystery school class is not like teaching anything else. Because you're, like I say, you are teaching on multiple levels, and it's very much from the heart. So I hope that brings it as true as possible. It's hard to explain exactly until someone's actually experienced that spiritual side of themselves without the filters of, things that we filter ourselves with.
It's so wonderful. I am so glad that you joined me today. I've learned so much, and I hope that our listeners did as well. Yes. And thank you, everyone, for joining me this morning. I hope you have a great day, a great week, and I hope you get out there and raise the vibe. Marnie, thank you so much. This was wonderful. It is. It is about raising the vibe and raising that energy. And I really appreciate you, Marnie. Thank you for today.
Thank you.
Bye, everyone. This is Raise the Vibe on KVSH Voice of Vashon 101.9 FM. Goodbye, everyone.
Liz, that was good.
Thank you, everyone, for joining us today. Marnie, thank you so much for joining me in the studio today. It was wonderful. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Have a great day, everybody. Raise the vibe.